Hello, everyone, and welcome to this first PEP podcast. My name is Mary, and Melissa and David are going to share the limelight with me as well. Welcome to both of you.
Hello, everyone.
Hello everyone. Hello Marie. Hello Melissa.
All right, hello, everyone. So, for the three of us, it's the beginning of a new adventure since it's the first time we do a podcast in English. We have been collaborating on different podcasts together, still going on today, but so far it was in French. So before introducing ourselves, I'd like to explain what PEP stands for. It's a name that we chose for two reasons. So the first one is because it really defines the essence of what it is, a personocratic English podcast. So in other words, it's a podcast in English focused on the personocratic consciousness. And the second reason for this name is that is the acronym first coined by DSG, who uses it as a reminder of the three utmost qualities needed on our evolutionary journey. So those three qualities being perseverance, endurance, and patience. So maybe we could say that the goal of this new podcast series is meant to provide a little shot of pep to encourage and inspire each one of us in the next step that we need to take to become sovereign beings. So before we dive deeper into self-sovereignty in action, we'd like to present ourselves today. And maybe Melissa, you could start. So welcome, Melissa.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, David. My name is Melissa. So to make it simple, I would say that I was born in France and I traveled with my parents to Central Africa when I was 3. And when I turned 18, I went back to live in France to complete my university studies in business. And around 11 years ago, I came back and live in the Central African Republic. This was at a time where there was a civil war in the country. And at that time, I was living in Canada. And when that civil war happened, I told myself, I have to go back because this is where I have to be. It was a very strong decision. And so I've been living in Central Africa since that time. Thank you, Mary.
All right. Yes, that's right. We have three continents today. So we have Africa with Melissa and David. Let's introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you. So I live in France. I met Personocratia a few years ago, especially with a video from Guy, of course. I think it was in 2007. After that, I've started to integrate this consciousness in my life, but it was more theoretical. And in 2015, I've decided to jump out of the ball and to go to Quebec to attend the 10 days workshop with Guy. And it was the beginning of a new adventure. So basically, it's how it starts. Then from since 2019, I start to offer to give my own workshop, especially in France.
Yes, and so for the audience, of course, we are all French speakers. So this English podcast will have a French flair all the way through, and with different accents. So that will be a very exotic podcast as well. You'll travel with us. And for a quick introduction for myself, so I'm Mary. And for those of you who have followed the Personocratic Seeds podcast, blog, sorry, I'm actually the person behind it, and you probably know me under the name Riam through my articles as well. So I'm a one and the same person behind the Personocratic Seed podcast. So I was born in France and until my early adulthood, and then after I moved to the United States where I live right now. And I discovered Personocratia in 2004 through the book What the Hell Am I Doing on Earth from Guy. And from there, of course, I continue my journey because it made so much sense uh, what Guy was describing in the book that later on I did my first 10 days workshop as well in Quebec in 2008. And since that day, I continued every single year going to Quebec to um, deepen and integrate this new consciousness. I've been teaching a little bit Personocratia when I was in California, and now I'm getting back into, we say teaching, but it's not the right word, but at least talking about this consciousness publicly. So it's a new chapter for me too. And this podcast is also the beginning for me to get back into talking about this uh, to people out in the air. So as you understand, we have been on the path for quite some times now, and we have learned a lot of things through Personocratia. So what I would be interested to explore is what led you to Personocratia? Whomever would like to start, David or Melissa?
I can start. So what led me actually, it was a pure coincidence for me. Again, I was at that time I was a student and I was living in France, traveling with some passengers. And one of the passengers mentioned the book, What the Hell Am I Doing Here Anyway, by Guy. And that title struck me. So for me, it was the question I had been asking myself. So when I heard that book title, then I went home. So I bought the book and I read it straight. And it was the beginning of the journey for me. So this is actually that book that led me on the path because after that I researched some videos. So I geese on YouTube. Then I started following videos on YouTube, and later on in the winter of 2014, I took my first workshop. So this is basically what led me on this path, and I have been on this path, yes, since that time, 2010. And what I want to say is that I have gained a lot of things on this path. I have learned a lot of things on this path, like essential things. And I would like perhaps to share two things, and maybe we can go deep afterwards. The first thing will be discernment. To be able to discern what is real from what is not is one of the major things that I have learned. And the second thing will be realizing that I am not my thoughts, I am not my emotions, I'm not my needs, that I'm much bigger than that, that I'm an entire universe. So those were my big learnings. So
Wow.
I would like perhaps to give the floor to one of you if you want to perhaps also share what were your learnings through this journey.
Yes, to make the link with Melissa, who I really am. So I'm not a body, or I'm not just a body. I'm really a creative spirit, I can say. A soul incarnated within a body. And when I realized that I was both finally, just not just the spirit, not just the matter, but both the spirit and the matter, the being and the having, it makes so sense for me and it totally changed my life, to be true.
Yeah. So coming after you guys, I realized that we all with the same approach and to Personocratia, so I won't be original because that's basically the same thing for me. When I read the book, What the Hell Am I Doing on Earth? It made so much sense, even if I didn't know anything about what Guy was talking about in the book. Uh, it felt like if I already knew, like it was there inside me, but I didn't know. And um, and so the common thing with Melissa is that the logic behind that and the discernment that personocratia and especially Guy has simplified the things uh, greatly that we have a full picture of what's going on at every level of our lives. So society, politics, education, family, health, that it brings this big picture, and then after the discernment is so clear, and that's really also what I gain is that clarity, and really it gave a direction to my life. I was no longer lost on the path. I knew what was going on. I could discern what is the lies, the illusions from what is true. And so that's what I gained too, and that's what keeps me on the path today to make the transition to with what keeps me on the path is really this simplicity um, of the concepts.
Yeah, and
Oh,
yeah,
go ahead.
in addition of that, finally, we all of us we are coming with the same story, And why is the same story? I think it's because it's what is this consciousness is all about. This consciousness is available everywhere. We can feel it. It's just about to be awakened, to take this decision to see the world how it is, to see the reality. Because of course it can make us afraid, but when you start to open your eyes, you cannot close them ever again.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, the simplicity. So of course um, once you know where you are at, once you know how the world is built and every systems are built on the same, following the same pattern, etc. And so this is one side of personocratia, but the other side that is really the most important one is to know who we are, that we are the creator of the universe. I know it's a big term and it can mean a lot of things, but we create our lives. And so it brings us out of victimhood. And for me, it was a big piece. And not only it brings us out of victimhood, but when we do that, then after we feel empowered, because then after we know that we have the power to create something different. And so those two aspects really has empowered me inside me. And I insist, I like simple things, and really Guy has simplified things so much. Nowadays, after COVID, people have awakened, and more people now are aware of that, the world is not the way it looks. But at the time back, 15, 16 years back, it was not that obvious to people to see that we are living in the world of lies and illusions. And Guy brought that to 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 the light, but in such simple way that everything makes sense. And that's really what I gained from that. In the beginning, of course, over the years, it was, I've learned and I dive deeper, etc. But that was really the big piece.
And I would like to perhaps emphasize on this clarity, it's this simplicity and this clarity. If I can give an example, when the pandemic happened in 2020, I remember I was sitting at a cafe with a friend, And this was on TV everywhere, every second, lockdowns, blah, blah, blah. And I remember at that time, it took me a few seconds to know that it was not true. It took me, I don't know, even not even a minute to realize it was not true. But I was able to realize it was all made up with without any evidence because I had been immersed in that consciousness for, at that time, for what, 10 years perhaps. So then for me, I could quickly discern what was true from what was false. So it took me a few seconds. And it's like this, for example, when if I watch TV, if I happen to watch TV, I am able to say whether this sounds true or not. But it's because I have been immersed in this consciousness. So it becomes more and more easy. And yeah, so this is for me an example to show how powerful this consciousness is, and in our daily lives, and it can avoid us to, to go on different and weird paths. So that's
Yeah.
what I want to share.
When you say it becomes easy, I would say it becomes part of us. It's kind of like an evidence. Like you say, we don't need proof when we are more and more connected to ourselves. And I wouldn't say I'm connected to my soul. I know it's there, my soul is here, but it's like we touch truth right away. And truth doesn't need explanations or proofs. And that's amazing. We just know.
It's what I said about the consciousness, it's a vibration. So now we can feel it, it's like music, it's like a sound. So it's easier, more and more easy to feel it, and to know what is true or not. Yeah.
Yeah. And also to know the truth and falsehood, versus truth. Here again, Guy came up with a simple sheet of paper with the criteria. How many? 10, 12 criteria.
Yes,
If
10,
one of
12,
them
yes.
is, if you have just one of them, it's false. So it makes sense easy. So in the beginning, this sheet of paper really helps. And in the beginning, you are like reading, so you read the questions. Sorry, I forgot the questions, but the criteria, pro bono, etc. Who does it serve and who
Victim.
finances? Is it victim or creator?
Mm.
Just one criteria. And at the end, after practicing, like she said, David, is just instant. It's a vibration. We know what is true. We know what is false. So that's the really the power. I said the power. I don't want to be marketing here, but that's the word that comes to me. It's really powerful, and it's an internal work. It doesn't come this way. It's really an inner work. It's more profound than understanding with the mind. We really um, go inside the body and feel what's going on inside us. So it's an inner transformation. To reach that point, we need to work on ourselves, and we need to work on our fears. And that's also the deep work through Personocratia, is to face our fears and to cross the wall of death. So we call death, but death is contains all the fears we have, and we have to cross it at every time in our daily life. And that's what we are doing, at least the three of us, uh, at least on the planet. And so the question is, how does it look like in everyday life when you work with Personocratia? If you want to share, so that people can have a sense of how how do we do, um, how do we apply this?
So to give an example, a very concrete example, a few days ago, I was driving with an expired driver's license. I didn't know my driver's license had expired. And I was pulled by the police, and I felt the fear of wasting time, the fear of wasting money, etc., going through me. But because I have this awareness, I know that this fear belongs to me. It's within my universe. The fear, which I mean, the emotions, the beliefs are in my universe. So I take responsibility for them. And at some point, I had to step back from the situation and look inside me and see, okay, what is this fear coming to tell me? This is like it's some place in my universe that is not balanced. So I have to go and look. I go and look into this area where there is this imbalance, and I see what is going on, what he has to tell me. So I listen to it. I listen to it, and then it gives me indications of what is going on. In this specific case, it was related to something with courage, etc. So then I speak with this fear, I communicate with it, and if I can handle it, then I handle it, I resolve it. If I cannot resolve it concretely, I will perhaps go for ask for help. For example, I love going to therapy. So I will ask for help and to address it. Because for me, as Marie and David were saying, we go out of victimhood. So I become responsible for everything that happens to me in my life, in my universe. What I call my universe is my life. And when I realize that something is not properly managed inside, I attend to it. I don't just let it go. I attend to it, I take care of it. And I say, again, if I can't do it by myself, I look out for help. So this is concretely what I do every day in every aspect of my life, whatever happens. It doesn't have to be a big thing, it can be a small thing, but this is always my reaction. I don't know if maybe David or Mary wants to proceed.
What I remember, when I was in my first 10 days workshop, I saw it was written on one side, it was written the word of lies, and the other one, the word of truth. And the truth for me, it was something very important because maybe I will shock you, but in the past, I used to lie. Sometimes
No.
I was lying, maybe to cover up a bit, the thing, or to avoid some conflict in relationship. So maybe you see what I'm talking about.
Not at
Uh,
all.
so anyway, and this truth, it was so clear for me that it was the end. I cannot change the direction if I keep lying. So it was my first decision. At this time in 2015, I decided that I will never lie again. So what does it mean? For me, it means to stop to lie to myself, at least when I'm conscious of something, because sometimes, we can make a story and we think it's the truth, but at least to be honest with myself. So it was not easy, maybe still not easy sometimes, because when you decide or when I decide to speak my truth, uh, it means that sometimes the fears are coming. They say, oh, do not say that, do not say that. You will have some problem, you will be excluded from your family, and so on and so on. So it's a long journey. And it helps me, as you say about the fear, it helps me to see why I'm scared. What scares me to death in one way, and at least if I cannot explain, if I cannot say the truth to somebody, I can say, oh, sorry, but I'm too scared, I'm too afraid to tell you what's happened inside me. But it's the beginning for me of honesty. So yeah, it was the first big change for me in my life, and as Melissa said, I can apply it in my daily life in all area in my life, of course. And you, Mary?
So the same for me. It's so funny because for me the sentence that helps me the most in everyday life is any explanations other than I'm afraid is a lie. So, and that's also the same process that I go through everyday life, like you say, David, truth is not only, the truth outside, but it's the truth within us. And how true are we towards us? And for me, it's clear that uh, I'm not true to myself. That's the beginning of what comes afterwards. But I try to at least discipline, sometimes my mind will go, tell stories and say, yeah, but da 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 da, and play my victim my victim for a while. But then after, I will stop and say, okay, what's going on here? And I will readjust. What is it that you feel? So we go back to how we feel, but saying the truth without explanations, justifications. What I really feel is this. And then after to go not to action, but once I identify the origin of the fear, uh, to go back to my soul and ask my soul, okay, lead me to where I need to go in order to resolve that. So I really surrender to my soul. I say, okay, what do I need to do next? Bring me the situation, tell me what will be my next course of action. And I just let it come to me instead of before I would just say, okay, I need to do this and this and this and this and this. But now it's more, I become more and more passive in my actions. And of course, the perfect action for me to go through my next step comes naturally. And I know this is it, and I need to deal with that. So in my everyday life, that's basically how I proceed, and it has made my life easier once I became more passive, more less controlling. Um, I believe less and less. I believe that I have to do something, but I have to back up and say, okay, what is it that I need to do?
Yes, because maybe we didn't explain today, but the point of personocratia is to give the power to the soul. So as you say, it's not the same kind of action, it's more an inner action. So we can feel that, oh, we do not act, but we act, but from inside. So it's something else.
Correct. Yeah. For this first podcast, there are so much to talk about, but this is really to introduce ourselves, for you to get to know us, and to give you bits and pieces. And of course, with the next podcast, if you like it, you let us know in the comment section. Of course, come up with your questions, and of course, we'll develop some topics that you want to dive into. That's really the purpose of those podcasts, is to help you discover personocratia, but also, like I said in the beginning, to give you some pep. So maybe to encourage you and inspire you to do your next step on this path.
So yes, Mary and Melissa, maybe before the conclusion, I would like to add something. And maybe it was one of the questions, but I miss it, I don't know. But for me, the key concept, one of the most important things to understand is I have to take a decision. Even if we will go further in the next podcast, but for me, just to remind that nothing will change in my life without taking a strong decision. Am I going to continue on this in this world of hell, and suffering, and at the end eventually to die, or am I going to decide to take another way and to totally change my life and my way of thinking, my way of living, and my way of taking the decision from inside to outside. So yes, for me it's important to underline now. Yeah, you
Yeah,
have something to add about that?
you're right. It's because it's so obvious now for me that this is that path. And but that's important is the decision. Where do I want to continue my life, continue the world of illusion, or to walk the path of truth? And therefore, if it's what we want, then there is a inner job to do. And the first step is, of course, the decision. And the first decision is I want to go in that direction. And then after uh, take again that decision at every single step uh,
which
we
means
we
which
walk.
means with my free will, I give the free rein to my soul without any expectation, because the mental, he always he was waiting for something, he always wants something, he always expect for a result. And I think it's the big piece, to stop to expect something just because I want it.
Correct. And maybe it will be good to say that don't expect a drastic change in your life where you are going to be happy and find the love of your life and make a lot of money.
Oh, no?
This is not maybe it can happen. We are creators, but that's really not the concept behind personocratia. It's really not that. We are getting out of what we have done and believed so far. It's really a 180 degrees turn in the other direction, and to do things differently and not to repeat what we have been doing for years, centuries, millennia sometimes. So just to make sure we're on the same page, we you don't come here for
Yeah, it doesn't mean we will not have joy. It doesn't mean we will get poor. It's not about that. It means that we have no guarantee about the future because it's about to let go the control. You talked before about that. Stop to control my life because the control is just to be inside the prison. Say okay, it's a prison, but I like it. So for me, I do not like it at all.
yes, yes. And it's really to reach, we talk about love, money, being wealthy, etc. But so far, those concepts are in the world of illusion, and it's a fake love, it's a fake wealth. It doesn't last because it's conditional at every level. And here, the transition will be to find real wealth that is totally different from what we can even imagine. Real love that we don't even know. I know, Melissa, recently you had a touch of what real love is, but right now we don't know what is real love. We have maybe fragments of it, for a second, but we don't know. And but we have to go through this transition and to move from this fakeness to the true thing. And the transition is, it takes some time. So yes, we'll know the true love, true wealth, etc. But it requires a change within first. Would you like to add something, Melissa?
Yes, I would like to add something to both of what you guys said about the path. As you said, the changes are not drastic. Like for me, I can say that the changes were progressive and subtle. So I didn't realize they were taking place, but now when I look back, I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago, for example. So the changes happened. And I can say today that I am more and more aware of my power of creation and manifestation. So I can use this power in a more efficient way. So it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing for me to see how now I can better use this power of creation. And although it's an extremely challenging path, it's a beautiful journey. It's for me, it's the reason why I'm here. So it's the most beautiful things that one can wish. So I don't know if one of you would like to add anything to conclude.
Yeah, I would like to add something because, we keep saying, you won't experience drastic change and, it's not a path of finding wealth and love, etc. But at the same time, the joy that surface after each step that we go through, here again, we are talking about real joy, true joy. And every fear that we overcome brings such joy. And for me, it's power. I have this word power, but not the negative power, the inner power, like this solidity and this strength that is building up. And this kind of feeling of joy is totally different from the one that we know in everyday life. It's the word subtle is one of the characteristics, but it's constant, it's stable, it's there, and I don't need anything to feel it. It's always in the background. So life is not, I forgot the word, life is not miserable. We are facing challenges, but it's not like before where I would, be frustrated and say, oh, no, again, no, it's going to be complicated. It's like now there's something coming up. Okay, that's a challenge. It triggers fear, but there's going to have a solution, and my soul is here. Okay, let's just back up, wait, and do what I need to do, and we'll go through it. And every step brings another strength and piece of joy. And maybe one day I will say, oh, I've touched love, true love. I cannot say that for right now.
Yes, thank you. I don't know if it will be my conclusion, but probably it's the same kind of feeling. Um, I'm sure you already touched true love because all of us, we touch it, but we cannot keep it sometimes because we are not totally ready to make the link. And probably it's what you said as well. Um, in this path, I feel more and more powerful and joyful, but it's not this. I'm so excited, like that. No, excited, contracted, because it's what it is in this world of illusion. No, it's more something more constant, calm, but stronger and stronger inside me. Each time I decide to follow my soul instead of my ego or my mental that want to control. And so for me, it's really worth it. This path is maybe at the beginning a bit difficult, but for me, it's the only path now that makes sense. So um, yeah, I think that's all for me.
Yes. I
Nothing else to add, it's how it is.
No, nothing else. Yeah. I I guess like you guys and most of you, who are watching this video, I've tried so many things, explore so many things, and I always come back to Personocratia because it feels right, it feels true. And so me too, I stay on the path.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. We hope you have enjoyed this first podcast. It was only an introduction, and we look forward to seeing you in the next ones. And so, if you like it, please feel free to leave any comments, any likes, and we'll be happy to see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye, everyone. See you next time too. Bye, David and Melissa.
Yeah, bye Mary, bye Melissa. Thanks very much, and yeah, hope to see you next time.